it's gonna be a pretty tight schedule to get us all in and cover all that we want to cover. I'd love for these things to be about a half a day, but we'll have to build to that. But we're going to start with some success stories. We got 3 great managed services customers here. We're going to talk a little bit about what they're doing. Kent's going to do a little bit of technology update for you, and then some additional service offerings, and then, 6 o'clock we start the social right across the street. You guys that were here a couple years ago remember over at Small Batch. It was such a fun time last time. We didn't hesitate to call them again and get it locked down. So looking forward to all of that. I appreciate everybody being here and, taking the time to spend with us and sort of learn a little bit. One of the things that I wanted to do was, this says Avignon customers. It's really mostly our local government customers. Most of our commercial customers and our large utilities and stuff aren't on here. But you can see that we're spread sort of all across the country. We're growing a lot in the Midwest and on the West Coast over the past few years in a way that we hadn't before. But the really remarkable thing is when we look at sort of North Carolina and, you guys I'm sure can see yourselves there, but there's a whole lot going on in North Carolina. We're doing more and more in the Virginia area, in the Georgia area. How many of y'all have met Joey Wilson this week? Joey's in the back. He joined us at the first of the year. He's going to try and help us in that sort of Alabama, Tennessee, Virginia, Georgia, sort of building ourselves up the eastern seaboard as best we can, and eventually sort of, and also work with folks in North Carolina that he knows. Everybody knows Wendy, and Wendy's taken on a new role in our organization. She's still managing things in North Carolina and in South Carolina, but she's also taken on a leadership role with me, managing all of our managed services customers and all the renewal processes, as well as all of the other products that we have that are on annual subscriptions and in a role that we call sales operations. And she's been very helpful in all of that, and hopefully that process just continues to get better, both on the customer side and on our side in the back office, and making sure all of that works the right way. So we're really excited about the growth we've seen. I think, we acquired Highway Mapping 3 years and 21 days ago. We've grown it probably about 40% in terms of customer count. As mentioned, a lot of them, in fact, we got 2 today, 2 new managed services customers today, one in Wisconsin, one in Ohio. So we're continually adding new customers all the time. I think the other thing that you're going to see over the coming year or so is new managed services offerings. We're not exactly sure what they look like. We've been working pretty hard to figure out what that looks like. You can expect everything from, perhaps monitoring of your systems as part of an offering to, technical advising on a quarterly basis to perhaps even managing your software assets and sort of making sure all the updates are applied and sort of all that kind of stuff. So we're still trying to figure out what all those look like, what customers really need and want, how we package those together most appropriately and make them available to our customers. But we're excited about the program. We're excited about the progress we've made. We appreciate everybody's patience with us over these past 3 years as we've worked to figure it all out together and try to make it work for all of us. And hopefully you guys feel good about it. With that, I'm going to introduce Josh. If that's okay, if I can.
Go for it.
These are the 3 of our fantastic customers who are just going to talk to you a little bit. Josh Estevan is first from the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians. You guys probably all know Josh. Then who doesn't know Marlena? And who doesn't know Will? So each of them will take probably 5 or so minutes to just talk a little bit about some of the stuff they've done with us. And then Kent's going to come around and give you some other updates. You can just push that button forward whenever you want.
So I've probably worked with Josh since, about 05 or so.
It might have even been sooner.
Yeah.
But
worked together a long time.
we've been together over 20 years. I know that.
Yeah.
So with that being said, we first started working with enterprise setup and 911 addressing toolbar. That was back in the desktop days. And since moving with Avignon, we've done the 911 addressing toolbar again. And where are we at now? This is our AGOL homepage, but they also helped us reestablish the 911, or the enterprise servers and portal setup. We're all in the Azure cloud, so everything was new and crazy. That's just looking at the portal setup, or one of the screenshots. And then, looking at here, this is the 911 addressing toolbar, which is very helpful. A little customizable, really easy to use. Works well with the next gen setup. And then the other thing we ended up, we did all new parcel fabric, and they helped us implement that and set it up from scratch. So we've got 3 parcel mappers working in the environment. They use them all the time for technical support. Easy phone call away. And they also helped us with some attribute rules and doing some automation stuff. They also helped us implement a burn permit using Survey 123, and we kind of designed it around our new code that was passed by our tribal council. So that's just a couple screenshots of that. And then we developed, and we use Power Automate, so when someone submits the application, it goes to, sends an email to the appropriate people. And then we created a dashboard for the burn permit so they can see where all their active burns are and go back and see past burns as well.
Hey, Josh, I know
Yeah.
that's your last slide. Just tell us a little bit about the burn permit, how that all came about.
They passed a new tribal ordinance or code, and we basically revamped everything, and we went through, and Avinia went through the code, and we designed all of this around what they had written into the code. That was a while ago. I don't even think I read the code. I let that.
And I believe it's Survey 123 that's Harmony
It's
Drive.
Survey 123, yep. Yep.
Okay.
So, then,
If you go to the casino to burn money, do you have to get a permit?
I don't go there, so.
Smart guy.
But they're always a phone call away. I bounce ideas off of them. Whenever I want to do something new, I usually call them first and make sure they get me on the right track before I go bang my head against the wall trying to figure it out myself.
Great.
So,
Well, it's a great working
Yeah.
relationship, so we appreciate it.
yep.
Okay.
I think that's it.
Yeah, flip to the next one. I'll introduce Marlena. Marlena Isley, most everybody knows, who is a miracle worker, currently basically maintaining 2 GISs for 2 different counties. She is currently the GIS administrator in Guilford County, following in the footsteps of Stephen Dew. She's also still got Alamance. Marlena?
All right, so this is my 23rd year in GIS, and it's definitely come a long way in that time frame. And I started working with Kent in 2015. I came to Alamance, and I came from federal government, but I had previously spent about 10 years with City of Greensboro, and then about 5 years with federal government when I got there. So I was a little new back to county government coming in, but I really wanted to be home in North Carolina with my family. And in the first 30 days on the job, I got to meet Kent, and the previous vendor was going away, and our servers were going back, and they wanted me to go ahead and do a new upgrade and get ready to go. And so the current database state when I got there, it was a little scary, and I was like, okay, this is not definitely what I'm used to, but Kent helped me to go ahead and get started on that process, reorganizing the databases and moving everything over and getting ready to rock and roll. So in the course of the 9 years that I was with Alamance County, we really did a lot of great work together. And so we basically started trying to expand those services to environmental health and to also to 911 and making sure that everybody had what they need. And one of the first things Kent helped me set up was bringing the parcels over as a nightly process. And for the love of God, I thought I was going to be in love, just because it saved me so much time from having to go chase down 27 different tax mappers and give them random copies of shapefiles, which is how it was done previously. And I was like, I just can't do all of that and run a team and do all the database work and everything else. So setting up that first job just saved so much time. It was so much more efficient. And we were able to eventually move up to 44 scheduled jobs and tasks that we're running. And it was just so much more efficient. And eventually we got over to, in 2018, moving our websites over from the previous vendor over to Holland Mapping's templates. So we had a sex offender site, we had our main GIS site, and when they were off site, the service was not the greatest thing. We didn't always know when they were down, or like streets would get connected to streams, so there were a lot of complications and issues, and people would complain. So when we moved over to hosting our own websites, that was like a wonderful thing, and the data just got updated nightly like it was supposed to, so it was really helpful. That same addressing toolbar came into play for Alamance as well, and I was really happy that we could have city and county addressing in the same database through branch version feature services, and have 8 editors on there. And before, with NextGen 911 going through that whole process, we were averaging anywhere from 75 to 80 critical errors a week, and I had to fix them. Not fun when you've got a bunch of other tasks and things to do. So we got that toolbar, and I was very happy that, you know, we were down to like a handful of errors each month or less. And I've been gone from Alamance for 9 months, and they've only had 2 critical errors in those 9 months. So it's been super helpful and a wonderful process to have in place. We also, Avignon was just such a great help or a tool if I needed guidance or assistance, or I was about to embark on a new project. It's like, hey, is this the right path or not the right path? And one of those things was we were going to Enterprise in order to support the branch versioning and the addressing in between city and county. And we got all of that up and running. Everything was great, knocked out of the park. And IT decided, let's restart all the servers overnight and not really give everybody a great warning about what all that was going to entail, that they were going to take them down for several hours and then bring them back up. And the next day we found out our portal, the data store was actually corrupted, and Esri couldn't help us fix the problem. They said restore from backup. It didn't go so well. But we ended up, I was getting ready to leave and go on vacation in Mexico because I was like, it was our wedding anniversary. And so I figured what better thing to do than make sure I take my work laptop with me just in case I've got some spare time. And Avignon was able to help me even remotely from Mexico because I had tripped over that lovely crocodile in the picture and broke my foot in 3 places. So I was like, well, I'm sitting here anyway. I might as well do some work. And I just hopped on with them, and we were able to fix Portal and move on down the road and do what we needed to do. So they were super helpful. And then we took our environmental health staff over from index cards and 10 different users on Trimble with 10 different versions of shapefiles, and being able to pull that over into another branch version feature service that they were able to use and eventually move over to disconnected editing. And that process worked so great that we were actually able to share it with like 4 other counties and get them moving on down the path and more efficient in their environmental health collection. And we moved our parcels over to Parcels with Pro, and in a couple weeks, Alamance is going to move over to the Parcel Fabric. And Avignon made that process much simpler and easier and just smooth so that we could just get the new things and go and do what we needed to do, and the training was fantastic. And in the middle of the screen is actually a new tax website that is coming online for Alamance. And so what they're doing is using feature services, the same feature services that we push other things through, to actually push the parcel data out there and push a new website for tax. They had been having problems with their previous vendor for quite a few years, and so they were happy that there was a reasonable solution, and it was something that we could use GIS to help support. So it was great, and I really was a little nervous about leaving Alamance because we had built so many things, and I knew my databases, and I knew I had great support and people working with me. And I was a little concerned that we had 5 major projects, including that tax website that Avignon was helping us with, coming online with Alamance. And so last July, I decided that I was going to take a new opportunity to move over to Guilford. And so when I moved over to Guilford, I am born and raised in Guilford County, but I knew that some of the staff there, I knew them and I was aware of who they were. But I was like, well, you know, let me call Kent and make sure this is a good decision. Because I knew that that support would be there, and I'd be able to trust and rely on that support. And I would have tons of help from not only a great team internally with the staff, but I would also have Avignon support with the databases and anything like that. And I knew if they had had their hands in it for years, you know, I'd be in good, reliable, trustworthy support moving forward, and we'd be able to go ahead and build something great together there. But Guilford had already been with Holland Mapping since 2009. And Kent had been there with the previous CBA and one of the GIS analysts there for quite some time working on site with them. And so I knew that the databases would be good and we'd be ready to rock and roll. So when I came on board in July, it was nothing like being the new kid on the block in like your first 45 days. And Kent gives me some bad news because we had seen a system failure code on the database, and that's there on the bottom of the screenshots. And I had never seen a failure 409 code on the compression tables. I was like, Kent, this is probably not a great thing or whatever. Now, can you take a look? And Kent gave us some great advice on restructuring and reorganizing the database and some good guidance on moving forward what we needed to do. And I really appreciated that as the new kid coming in and definitely trying to make that process as seamless and as smooth as possible for everybody involved, since we had a little over 200 users in-house. So worked throughout the weekend for about Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and came back in, thought we were good Sunday night, about 10 p.m., and Monday morning we come back in, and our GIS server machine is not staying awake for more than about 10 seconds. And in case you ever get a bright idea to do batch publishing, don't. Unless it's just like 4 or 5 feature services or data pieces in that database. So we ended up going through and got some support immediately from Avenion to kind of figure out what to do. And we were able to go through 632 feature services and shut them down because they had just been batch published out. So we went through and got those things shut down like we were instructed to do so, and the server was back up and working like it was supposed to be. And so then those internal clients were happy, but that also affects our data viewer, which we hit about 27,000 views per month on. So we were able to get that back up in line and on and running. But we had some good guidance and some good support, and we were able to reorganize and restructure our geodatabases and get all our replication and everything set back up, and all the parties that rely on that information were happy. And since I've been there, we've also had some assistance from Avenion getting our SQL jobs up to task and running, and like the database tuning and everything like that running like it's supposed to be. The previous CBA had passed away suddenly a couple years ago, and so it was definitely overdue for a little bit of work and a little bit of maintenance and tuning getting up to date. But we've also had some great projects in the meantime, getting those jobs up and running and like they're supposed to, compression doing what it's supposed to be, and getting the databases straightened out. But we've also been able to, tax just decided they were going to stop reusing their parcel numbers without much warning, about 4 or 5 weeks. And so we were able to move forward with the process to put our retired parcels out on our GIS data viewer, because several internal departments were not very happy with tax for doing that and making a sudden shift and a change. But as long as they could have access to the old parcels, they were happy. So we were able to automate some jobs, get some data out there on our data viewer, and update some hyperlinks, and everybody was happy, and tax was able to move forward and do their start with their 2025 parcels like they were supposed to, and keep all parties actively engaged and happy, and put the retired parcels out there. And one of the other things we had also been working on was our foreclosures and getting that out there. So there was a foreclosure project that was existing, but we discovered there were some gaps in the information, so we re-engineered that process as well and got that process automated so it's updating every night. And now there's a foreclosures dashboard out there. So if you're looking for a house in Guilford County and you definitely want to pay a lot less money and just pay the taxes owed on it, that foreclosure dashboard could be very helpful for you. But in short, so I knew that I was going to be in good hands, and I appreciated Kent's whole team and Avenion being there for, no matter what we needed, if it was guidance or assistance or getting jobs back online. It makes a big deal when you've got an entire county relying on you to have that information up and ready, and especially if you've got someone with rock solid information and you can rely on that guidance and move forward like you need to in an efficient and timely manner. So thank you.
Thanks, Marlena. And before Will's up next, Will Corbett from Wilson, I do want to shout out the late great Derek Davis in the top right of that corner. Derek was an awesome guy. We miss him. And then that was Jeff Dietz behind a much younger Kent Rothrock. That's probably a 15-year-old picture. So. Yeah, that's me sitting at the desk. That's right. My younger days.
You couldn't hear him?
Picture.
The picture's talking.
It's always hard. GIS coordinator from Wilson County. And I've been working with Kent and his team since 2015. I come from a little bit of a different background than most GIS people. I was a geography major in college back in 1998 and thus was selected as the person most likely to not hit the wrong button when we've been without a coordinator for about a year. And that's when somebody found out, oh, you're a geography major, you can do it. So I rolled in after we had not had one for about a year, and we started, almost immediately started a support contract. Marlena's story about the honeymoon is much better than mine. We had a cyber attack not long after I started, and I literally had Carol in a conversation trying to get our database back during the cyber attack from the sitting on the steps that he's not here in Chapel Hill immediately after football game trying to have a conversation with Kent. So that's your situation probably went much better for him than that one. So I'm going to be talking about one specific project that we recently did, and we did a CAMA conversion. Basically, we were going from one CAMA vendor to a new CAMA vendor. It was my first complete conversion for CAMA. Didn't really know what to expect. When I first started, like I said, we had been without a coordinator in really any GIS for about a year when I started, and Kent and Brandon were very instrumental at that time in taking a process that really nobody knew anything about, recreating it in a much simpler way so we could update it, automate it every night. Before that, there was a magic button the tax administrator pushed, something updated somewhere in the AS400 that was at that point behind glass in Smithsonian or something. And so we were moving from that type of operation to a new, more modern CAMA situation. So, but like everybody else, there's more touching my parcels than just my tax parcels. City, we've got basically a data sharing directly with the city of Wilson. They pull our parcels in nightly, we update them, all kinds of things are running on parcels like everybody else. So my goal initially was, hey, I don't really want to touch my schema. I've got so much stuff downstream, I don't want to break it. I don't want to have to go and redo 50 jobs and remember that there were 20 that I forgot that were touching parcels. So initially I was told by the vendor that they were going to give it to us in our schema. Fantastic, that's awesome. It's just going to be a matter of just hooking right up and running. They did not, in fact, do that. I know it's shocking to hear. So at this point in the process, we've been brought in pretty late in GIS, and there started to become a little bit of rumbling in the community because realtors, brokers, appraisers, attorneys could not get the updated tax information in the same fashion that they've been given before. I'm getting text from county commissioners. This is not good. So once they handed everything over to us and we saw, aha, it's not the same schema, I was working with Kevin. Kevin almost immediately put their schema, our schema, into a table. The reds here are all the field types and links that are different, and the yellows are just field links. But that is what the entire table looked like. So we had massive differences. And again, on a time crunch to where they've handed it over to us and we gotta get high. So this was everything that we had to change. I know it's all little font there. This is sort of what we did. Again, not trying to reinvent the wheel. This essentially was our previous CAM job. 3 steps. It was pulling in tables. We were pulling in tables, sending it out to a CAMA data table, and then previously we had 2 files, a main file and a feature file. We'd squeeze them together to update ownership information for the public, that type of thing. In this case, we were not getting 2 files, we were just getting 1, so we had to go in and do some funky stuff with the switching out gear, pulling gears, and just out of 1. So this is just sort of it looks simple, but it was not. And so we came in and basically all this is Kevin, because I'm not a DBA at all. They've taught me a lot, but I will never be anywhere close to adequate DBA. But Kevin basically went in and casted everything from essentially 255 characters of text for literally every field into what we actually need. So there was a lot of casting done in the script. And then this is our website. It is an Avenium product, one that I'm very proud of, and one that is very, very popular in our county. One reason I'm really proud of it is we spent a lot of time trying to create a usable website for appraisers, realtors, attorneys, those folks. To include, we created a sales search back when we initially did the product. Before, one of the older vendors that we used for tax information was US Tax Data, and they had a fantastic looking product. When we were going with DevNet, they had a different product, and we were actually losing a lot of functionality. That's a bad thing, nobody talk about losing functionality. So there was a sales table that we were losing, and people were complaining, so I was like, aha, we have a sales table. But there was a problem. And you can go in here and see, you can put in year built, finished area, you put the range you want to look, hit search, and then your sales will pop up. It's really good for finding comps. But it was all, and this is the table, sortable. But you had this field here, this date field that was sortable. Well, the way that they were giving us back the data, that no longer worked. They were giving it to us, and we were casting through date field, just wasn't working. So Kevin was great, and within like a day or two, we came back in and we were able to cast it and recast it basically into a date field that we can now sort in that table, which now made everybody happy again. Until we cast it and I hit the sort button and I noticed that we have the date sold as being the year 2400. And then that made us unhappy because we realized we had a lot of bad data. And also qualified sales. All of a sudden it was like, oh, 6 months of having CAMA data entered into a system, you'll find out real quick what went wrong. So that was basically the project that we did, the success story we had, and there were a lot of unsuccessful things in getting there. And a couple things, if anybody is getting ready to do a CAMA conversion, is get in on it as early as you can. Don't just let the tax office run with it, with what they think is going to work for you. Go ahead and hop in and have some opinions. Don't let the vendor drive the bus. You're the client. Like, tell them what you want from them, sort of make them stick to it. If you can get it in writing, even better, because I would have loved to have gotten an email, one email from the 30 times they told me I was going to get it in my schema. Get a good partner. I told Ken a few minutes ago I should have followed my own, start early and write it down, but make notes and be prepared. So the earlier you can get on it and have a good partner, the better. So
Perfect. Thanks, Will. Hand for our speakers. All right, I'll keep it brief. I know we're on a tight timeline. I was just going to do a little tech update thing. So I just wanted to bring up a few little items that you may or may not know about. This, I know you can't read it, but this is the release cycles for Enterprise. If you don't know already, basically you're getting even and odd. So we have, since 10.9.1 was the last of the 10s, we got 11, 11.1, 11.2, 11.3, 11.4. I know there's already been announcements of 11.5. The thing to understand is we're pretty much, again, Esri can tell you what they want to tell you. We're pretty much recommending to go the odd releases because for whatever reason, the even releases are supported for 3 years, the odds are for 6 years. So like what's gonna happen is 11.1 is gonna be supported for longer than 11.2. 11.3 will be supported for 11.4. So I'm not 1,000% sure about why they're doing that, but my MO, until somebody corrects we'll see where that goes. The next thing, user type changes. So again, for some of us old timers, if you go and say, hey, I need an Art Pro license, Esri is gonna sort of sell you things by user types as it applies to ArcGIS Online and ArcGIS Enterprise. And those things, again, I broke this down. You can find all this stuff at Esri.com. But these are the types right now. So if you call up and say, hey, I need a Pro Basic, Esri's gonna sell you a creator license. And it does other stuff. It allows for basic creator content, all those things that viewer, contributor, and mobile worker does, plus you get ArcGIS Pro Basic. It was called, this actually they combined two, it was Creator and GIS Professional, it's now Creator. So now if you wanted to buy an Art Pro, I need an Art Pro Standard, they're gonna sell you a professional license. And so you get this user type that's gonna be your named user licensing, that's gonna be either on online or enterprise. It's gonna have everything the Creator can do, plus Pro Standard, plus the advanced editing extension, which I'll get to in the next slide. That's a real important, Marlena's laughing here. So then Professional Plus, okay, hey, I need Art Pro Advanced. Esri's gonna sell you a Professional Plus user type. Used to be called GIS Professional Advanced. It's everything this does, plus Pro Advanced, plus 3D Analyst, Image Analyst, Spatial Analyst, plus the ArcGIS Advanced Editing extension. So again, I just wanted to sort of spit that out for everybody. Happy to talk about it. And again, Wendy and I can help folks with this sort of thing. If you get to needing licenses, you get to needing additional ArcGIS Online or Enterprise users, we're happy to help you cut through all this. But I just thought that might be a good little techie update thing. Yes, Jack?
Okay, so the Creator, Professional Plus, do those correspond with what they used to call on just desktop where you're not using the named user? What would be just
Basic
standard
editor.
and advanced?
Right, sort of, yes. That's right. That's right. More or less, this is basic, that's standard, that's advanced. Right, that's why I thought this might be useful. Again, when I first heard this from one of our Esri reps, I was like, what?
At least they're tossing into extensions.
Yeah, no, again, I thought that was cool too. So anyway, we can, I'm happy to talk more about this with you if you want. Okay, a couple more things with licensing. I know it stinks, but concurrent licenses, they're killing them off. So after March 1st of next year, you can't get them anymore. You can't go on My Esri, at least that's what they're saying, and download concurrent license manager files anymore. So I think they'll still work until they time out, but they're pretty much killing them off. Advanced editing user type extension. Marlena had a good laugh over this one because we got burnt on this personally. At Vignon, I take some responsibility. When you get to 11.2, if you do any of these things through a branched version database, utility network, trace network, parcel fabric, attribute rules, topology, or branch versioning, any of that done through a feature service at Enterprise, which is where we're all going, you have to have this advanced editing user type extension after 11.2. So that's one we just want to point out, because what happened was we did an upgrade from Marlena to Alamance and didn't know it, and then suddenly Marlena had to go find the money to buy 15 of those extensions. What was it, $700 or $800 a piece? So it's a lot, it's just something I wanted people to know to plan for and budget. Once you get to like 11.3, if you follow my advice, and you have people that you want to use attribute rules, or you do topology, which pretty much everybody does, all those editors are going to need this extension. So if you don't have an EA with Esri, you need to plan and budget for that. And I think she said it was $800, again, ask your Esri rep, but I think that's per year. So, all right, just wanted to point that out. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about, image services. So again, a lot of y'all already know about this. We used to do a trick using an unmanaged image catalog, and we could take all your image files and make a service out of it, or even whether we cached it or not. You can't do that anymore. That little trick is not available in Pro, and I don't know, we haven't figured out a workaround yet. So I just wanted people to be prepared as you upgrade. You've got to do it a different way. If you've got image server, everything's groovy, right? You've got to have the image server extension, which is, you know, considerable expense. In that case, you can publish out Mosaic data sets, you can cache them, you can do everything you need to do. Otherwise, raster data sets are an option, which is the old way we used to do it, where we actually load all the imagery into SQL. But again, it takes a tremendous amount of storage per year, so you'd have to plan for that, and it would take some work loading it into SQL, and then you could publish it out, cache it, and so forth. Again, requires lots of storage. So I just wanted to point a couple of those things out, that imagery is definitely something that they've sort of changed on us, and we have to keep an eye on. If you can buy image server, if you can get an Esri EA, we're all for that. It's awesome as a contractor to have access to all the licenses you need. Otherwise, plan accordingly, and you know, we're happy to discuss these things with y'all. Any questions on any of that stuff? All right, then I'll hand it over to Wendy.
Yeah, so as many of you know, we do a lot of managed services, we help you with that, other special projects. So I just wanted to talk a few minutes about some of the things that we're doing and offerings that we have now. When, you know, Highland joined Dominion, it opened up a lot of opportunity to be able to expand some of the things that they were able to do, and vice versa for each of the organizations. So of course, you know, we really take a look at things and how can we help you with professional services, integration, managed services, data management. We do a little bit of it all. You know, we do follow 3 pillars of success, looking at how can we help you design it, implement it, and then of course sustain and support, so that whatever you do is going to be able to be easy and be able to update it as things go on. So as several of people mentioned, they're using our web mapping template, the web ANA compliant, meet the needs that you need for your next gen 911, but the most important piece is getting it in your CAD system, because that's where you're gonna save lives. Being able to do that data translation and exports. And it's a really great way that I'd say a large percentage of our customers, and a lot of people who do addressing are not GIS people. That might be the only thing that they do in GIS. And we try to make it as simple and streamlined as possible so they can get in, they can get the addresses entered, they can edit those road center lines, and they can get out, and they're not being, burdened by the technology. And, like the other ones, it's on that annual subscription. And then, of course, a new thing that we've got this past year is Backup Manager for ArcGIS Online. So for those of you that are utilizing it, it's a great way that you can go in and back up a lot of your maps and apps and that data. It is a SaaS offering, so it backs it up in the cloud, just to make sure that, you can have that scheduled, put a retention policy in case somebody goes in and accidentally deletes something, or you need to go back and, recover it, just another safeguard, to make sure that you have your data and you can add it back in. And of course, it's set up on an annual subscription based on the storage size that you need, so very flexible to be able to grow with you. And it really takes 5 minutes to set up and no training to get in there. Even Joel can do it. So if Joel can get in, he can get it set up for the organization and set up the backups. Pretty much anybody can. But it's just a really great way to make sure that you're having those data policies, and if anything happens, you can go back and recover it. Then of course, those are a lot of the offerings that we've really kind of packaged up. We do have several areas where we're doing a lot of focus. It's one of those things where you can't do everything. So we're really trying to focus on the things that our team does really well. Not to say that, we do things outside of these focus areas, but this is really where our team is spending a lot of time and effort to streamline these processes and make it easy for everybody. So we do a lot of utility management, whether you're going to the utility network, or maybe you need to get to Pro and you just need to set up some topology and some attribute rules, or integrate with other systems. Doing a lot of training for utility editing. We're finding a lot of organizations are hiring people for GIS, but they're not really experienced in editing that utility data. And then of course the same on the parcel management side, either going into the Fabric topology, helping with a lot of those CAMA integrations to streamline getting that data back and forth. And on the same side as what we're seeing on the utility, there's new parcel mappers being hired, and they don't have a lot of experience with the software, so being able to get them into Pro, utilizing that, but also give them that custom training on that land records workflows. And then of course, we're doing a lot of addressing, as you know, a lot of consulting and workflows of, how can we streamline this? We've been doing it for a long time. Is there a better, is there a more efficient way, or different groups are now being involved in utilizing that? And of course, as always, a lot of enterprise implementations, upgrades, those business system integrations. But really the big thing that Kent and Laura Wilson have been teaching workshops on the past year is data governance and helping organizations implement those programs. And it can be as simple as starting with one project, or as you do an upgrade and migration. But definitely, now's the time to start thinking about that, documenting that, and understanding the system. So the technology is only going to continue to get more complex in a lot of ways. So understanding your data, your systems, and how it's connected is really going to help you save a lot of time and effort as you do upgrades, as you integrate with other systems, knowing what is there, how it's being used, and who's using it.
acquired a company a year ago, a company in the Midwest, and that came along with it. And so we're making those investments, but we're also making investments to try and support you better, both in our teams and the skill sets of our team, investing in them individually, investing in technology. You guys should all be totally and completely and deeply in love with Zoho Help Desk now. And we've got to spend a lot of time and energy on that. We're moving more and more stuff to it. We're starting to collect more and more data in it so that we can learn from the tickets that we process for various customers and capture them into an internal knowledge base so that our technicians, our technical folks can look and find things that they've already had solved somewhere else and make all those solutions more efficient. So we appreciate your support, and it's that support and the feedback you get that allows us to sort of keep improving. And hopefully you'll appreciate that and stick with us so we can continue the journey together. And now it's the 600-foot walk to small grass because I'm first.
And to be much warmer inside over there.
Thanks, y'all. Appreciate it.